Hi, this is Julie. Here's a quick sneak peek of the necklace we're going to make in this video. I hope you enjoy. In this video, I'm going to work on a necklace using these Vintaj components, some patinas, and just some other little fun things. I'm going to create this necklace as I go so you can see the design process in progress. So bear with me if I end up adding a few more supplies than what you see here. I'll definitely list them all in the video description for you though. But to start with, I have kind of a vague idea of what I want to do, and I'm going to be using as my focal this really pretty Vintaj Dragonfly. And then I've got this piece of Vintaj filigree, bead cap, these great large twisted jump rings, a little clasp, and then these other jump rings right here, which are nice and heavy as well. I've got a couple feet of an antique gold color Rolo chain. I have this really great big turquoise gemstone bead. It measures 30 millimeters across. A few eye pins and head pins, and then for the actual construction of my necklace, the length of it is going to be this ribbon, an assortment of Vintaj patinas. So I've got emerald, verdigris, clay, amethyst, rust. I got the glaze here, which I'm going to use as a patina extender, and then I've got ochre. I have some E6000 glue hiding back here. And then for my tools, I have the Vintaj relief block. You can tell it's well loved from our design space. An assortment of tools. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use, but I wanted to pull all the ones I thought I might be. So I've got a couple pairs of chain nose pliers, a wire looping plier, and then I've got a cutter, a round nose plier, and I've got a bail making plier right here as well. A paintbrush, a couple little cups of water from my patinas, a plastic bag to mix my patinas on, and some paper towels for any mishaps. And I think I'm probably going to be using them to wipe away some patina as well. So let's get started. I'm excited. I want to first use my relief block. One of my favorite things about Vintaj is how you can really alter their pieces. So it's something pretty unique to the Vintaj line where you can start with these really lovely pieces, but you can really change their appearance quite easily. So with the relief block, I want to expose the shiny brass below. To do that, I'm just going to scrape over the top of it with the relief block. And you see how drastically that is already changing. And I want to do that for the filigree as well. So you can really see on this one the before and after. Okay, and then same thing with my jump rings. And I think I'm going to do it to my clasp as well. Okay, I'm ready to go. And I want to now take this dragonfly and curve it a little bit around this bead, because eventually I'm going to glue it to the bead. So here's the bead hole, which I'm going to want up top, and I think it'd be really pretty if it went in this direction. So I'm just going to press it to begin with my fingers around the bead. So it looks like he's almost just holding on to that bead. Now I'm going to pop it off. You see we've actually curved it a bit. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers and alter it a little bit more by pulling it in. This is why I thought it'd be fun to do this whole process on camera, so you can just kind of see how you go about these different steps. Let's put it back on. Okay, so I can do a little bit more rounding. You know, you could definitely leave these wings out too if you'd rather have those wings more prominent. Let's see, where did my hole go? There we are. I like that, and his tail too. I just want to push his tail down a little bit. So he is ready to go. Now I'm going to be patinaing these 3 pieces. And that's the little flakes you see are just from my very, very well-loved relief block. So let's see. I think for this one, I want a little bit of emerald. And how about a little bit of, either amethyst or ochre. So you shake these guys up. And then put a little dots on, I'm using a plastic baggie. I find that's really easy. And then what else do I want? I think maybe a little amethyst and a little ochre. And now I'm going to use my glaze as well because I want it to be more of a wash as opposed to a solid opaque color. So if you do want a solid opaque color, you would just use a straight patina. And then if you want to wash, you just dilute it down with the glaze, which is also a patina extender in this case. I'm going to start with the green. You see how that's really lightening up the actual patina. And I'm going to paint on it. I'm going to have my paper towel handy as well. So I really do want this to be more sheer. Just going to dab it off as I go. And you can probably tell I'm not being super careful. Just there's a lot happening already on this piece, so a little pop of color is nice, but I don't really need to worry too much about painting in the lines or anything like that. I just want a hint of color. Okay, so I'm going to rinse off my brush. And then I want a little bit of yellow. We'll see how this looks. If you want the color darker, just add more actual patina and less glaze. There we go. Oh, that's pretty. And then I do want to add just a little bit of the amethyst as well. All right, I think I'm happy with that. Add a little more green right there. Okay, so that guy is done. Now I want to do my dragonfly. For my dragonfly, I think I want to bring in a little bit of the rust. See how bright that is. It's pretty bright. Let me see what the clay looks like. So this is what designing is often about. It's just experimenting. Seeing what you like, what you don't like, and then going from there. Okay. All right, so this is going to be put on top of the turquoise bead. So although I love the verdigris, I'm not going to use too much of it because it's going to be on top of that turquoise bead and it's going to be turquoise on turquoise. But I do want just a little. And I think I want more of the amethyst. I definitely want more glaze. So I'm going to spread that out, and while it's still wet, I'm going to pull up a little bit more turquoise. And I'm not washing out my brush because I want these to blend together. And then I'm also going to pull maybe a little bit of this orangey color. Okay, and now paper towel again. Okay, that's kind of what I was wanting, just really subtle colors. And then I don't actually think I want to do anything to the body of the guy, the main center of the dragonfly. Put a little bit more purple on his wings towards the tips. Okay, I think that will be quite nice. And maybe his tail, oops, just a little for a hint of color. All right, and now my bead cap. So for this one, let's do more purple. Just gonna paint over it pretty haphazardly, because I just want a hint of the purple. Okay, looks good to me. I think I am done with my patina. Can always go back and add more. Looks like I got a little bit on the stone. I'm just wiping it off with my hands. Once the patina is dry, you do not need to seal it. So the patina is meant to be used on metal, so you're not going to have to worry about doing a top coat of sealant. Now it is a pretty quick dry, which is nice. In the meantime though, so this bead cap is actually going to become a tassel top. At least that's what's going to become in my head. We'll see if it actually materializes. So I want to make a chain tassel. So to do that, I'm going to want to cut some lengths of chain. This chain right here is tangled. There we go. And to get an idea of how long I want that chain to be, I'm going to open up the base of an eye pin, put a length, well, my uncut length of chain on here. Okay, close that back up. Now this is still a little wet, but I think I can work with it. Okay, so I think I want my tassel to be fairly long. I'm going to call it good right there. So I'm going to cut that. And now I'm going to use this original piece as a guide to cut all my other lengths. So a quick tip for doing this, if you're cutting equal lengths of chain for an application like this, like a tassel, you can feed one length that you know is the right measurement onto an eye pin or a head pin. And then you put another section of chain on it, and you just look at where they're lined up. And cut. And you do that as many times as you need to do that. Now I'm doing this quickly and they're not all even. They're within a chain link or so even. At the end, you can definitely trim them up. You could do this really slow and methodical and make sure they're all even at the time. I know what's going to happen when I put these in the bead cone is some are going to end up, just by the nature of how we're going to do this technique, being a little shorter or longer when they hang. So I'm not worried right now about them being exactly perfect, but you can get them exactly perfect with this technique. You would just go a lot slower than what I'm doing right here in the video. So they came off of my hook, but that's fine. I'll just put one on there. So I want to make a tassel, but I also want to keep the process going and take into consideration dry time. So right now I want to go ahead and glue this guy onto the bead, but first I want to put an eye pin through the center of the bead and create a simple wire loop at the other end. So eye pin through the bead. I'm taking my wire looping pliers, grabbing it where it comes out the top, bending that wire down, rotating the pliers up to the top, and then pulling the wire around. And then where it crisscrosses, I'm going to be trimming it. And then straightening that up, like so. Okay, now let's go ahead and glue on our Dragonfly. I'm going to be using E6000 glue. I'm going to have a little scrap piece of wire right here. So I can put this on my baggie. Okay, I'm going to carefully grab my Dragonfly because I don't know if he's 100% dry or not yet. And then on the underside, where I know it's going to touch the gemstone bead, I'm going to put glue. E6000 glue starts to dry pretty quickly. You'll want to let it dry overnight before you wear it or expose it to much wear and tear. But the actual laying down of the glue, it does start to dry pretty fast. So you'll want to work relatively quickly. Okay. Actually, I want just a little bit more glue than that. Okay, let's flip it over and position him onto the bead. And I'm going to let him dry, and I'm actually going to flip him over so that the weight of the bead itself is pressing down on the Dragonfly, because his wingtips, if I was to flip him the other way, would cause the weight of the bead to press down against the table, and then there'd actually be a gap between the bead and the actual piece here, the Dragonfly. So let's go ahead and make a tassel now. I don't think this eye pin is going to be as big as I need it to be, because I need a much bigger loop to put all the chain links on. So let's trim off the eye and let's make a bigger one. To do that, we're going to grab our wire looping pliers. And we're going to make a bigger simple wire loop than what we started with. I think that should be good. We're going to open it, and this is why we needed it to be bigger, because we're going to take the end chain link of each cut piece of chain and slip it onto that loop. I think that's all I'm going to actually be able to comfortably fit. So let me close that loop back up. There we go. And this is what I meant when I was talking earlier about I didn't really feel like I needed to make sure each chain was exactly even. Is you see how some are up here and then some are down here because of the arch of the loop. So now we're going to take this, feed it through our little bead cap so it dangles below. And then we're going to I'm going to do a wrapped wire loop so it's just a little bit more secure. So where the wire comes out of the bead cone, we're going to make a loop. And where it crisscrosses, we're not going to cut it. We're actually going to pull it around the back and then around the front again. So it's a nice little secure loop right there. And we're going to trim it. And with that little tail that's sticking out, we're going to press it in using our chain nose pliers. There we go. So while that's drying and that's ready, I want to start on the actual main part of our necklace that will go around our neck. So let me clear some of this away. So the idea I had was to take the end, string on a jump ring, and tie a simple overhand knot. And that's actually pretty nice and secure. I just thought of something. This is why it's kind of fun to design on camera sometimes. I don't want to finish the other end like this just yet because I need to thread this ribbon through my bail, which is going to be this piece here. So that is dry. Okay, so I'm going to take my bail making pliers, grab it in the middle, and then bend it over the sides. Actually, I'm going to grab it right here too and bend it. So I want that gap in the middle to be a little bit bigger. There we go. So I'm not just grabbing it in the middle, I'm also grabbing it along those top ivy pieces or whatever those leaves are. There we go. So now we have a bail. And now I need to thread this through the non-jump ring end. Okay, and now let's finish this end. Thread it through. So how much did I have here? I had maybe 4 or 5 inches. Oops. A similar length. There we go. And for the clasp, I'm going to open a jump ring. So you grab both sides of the jump ring with the slit up top, you twist, link onto it 1/2 of my clasp and link that to the jump ring in the back. Well, what will be the back of the necklace, and close the jump ring back up. We're going to do the same on the other side. Close it back up. And then I need a way of attaching my gemstone bead and my tassel to my bail. So I'm going to use a jump ring. Hopefully this is wide enough. If it's not, I probably put through one of the twisty jump rings. That's a little tight in there. I think I'm going to put a twisty jump ring through there. And I want to, let's see, I want to attach that directly to my dragonfly. Yeah, that'll be pretty. All right, so I really should wait until that dragonfly is done, but I know what I'm going to do. So I am going to take a pause here. I'm going to wait a little bit till my dragonfly is done, probably about half hour, until I actually want to move him. He won't be fully cured to be able to be worn or really manipulated too much, but he'll be dry enough for me to actually work with him. And then I'll attach the bail to the gemstone bead and the dragonfly, and then also the tassel. And that'll give me a chance to clean up some of this as well, so you can see what the finished piece is really going to look like. Just a few more steps and our necklace will be done. So one thing I forgot to do at the very end of making this tassel was to trim up the ends. Now, they are a little uneven. You can leave them like this if you want. I think that's a fine look, or you can trim them up a little. To trim them up, just go ahead, pull them between your fingers, and snip off any excess links. And I'm not a stickler for this being exact. looks a little bit more even. So I'm going to attach the tassel first to the base of my dragonfly bead. To do that, I'm going to open up the simple wire loop, slide on the wrapped wire loop from the tassel, and close it back up. And then I'm going to go to the top here, open up, well actually, you know what, my big jump ring's already open, so I'm not going to worry about opening up this loop. So I'm just going to slide that on and close this nice big jump ring. There we go, and we are now done. So here is what our finished piece looks like. So I'm going to hang it on a bust so you get a better idea. But before I do that, I want to show you how the back, whoops, that happens in jewelry making. Before I do that, I want to show you what the back clasp looks like. So that is our clasp. And now I'm going to hang this guy on a jewelry bust. And this bust is too short for how long this necklace actually is. So I'm just going to go like that, and I'm just going to latch it in the back. There we go. And I think it's a really pretty statement piece of jewelry that was done creating various vintage pieces that we've altered by using the relief block, the patinas, curving them with pliers. We made ourselves a little chain tassel, a pretty gemstone bead, and some silk ribbon. So hopefully you saw from the video that it wasn't too hard to do. It was a number of steps, but they all went pretty quickly, and we end up with a really pretty piece of jewelry. You can find all the supplies for this project and more at Beadaholique.com.